Hey everyone, once again we've sent Hector off to Smurf. But we're tired of making things too easy for him, so this time we've forced him to kill himself multiple times in the crucial early levels to show you how a challenger approaches coming back from an early deficit. Due to your terrible teammates and low elo, you'll constantly find yourself in unwinnable situations, which is the point of this video. But Hector will prove how great game knowledge and decision making can let you stomp your opponent regardless of the circumstances that you face. We'll be asking questions throughout, so that you can see if you would think just as a challenger player does in these hopeless situations. Let's hop right into it. First, let's get formalities out of the way as we watch Hector die at level 1, and then at level 3. Okay, now that that's out of the way, it's time to apply the correct mindset to approaching this game. Hector is now 0-2 and a level behind at just 4 minutes into the game. Let's hear his thought process for how he'll approach coming back into the game.
So, the number one thing you have to do whenever you fall behind is emotionally detach yourself from the game. I think playing from behind is all an emotional thing. So, do whatever you do when you lose a game. If you have to punch a wall, okay, I don't condone punching walls, but you know, if you have to sigh really loudly, if you have to get out of your chair, you know, however you rage, do it now, because the game is already over for you. Your decisions no longer will affect the outcome of this game. Now, it is your opponents who will decide the outcome of this game. And this is the important bit. There is no trick to coming back from behind. There is no do this and you will come back. You simply play off of your opponent's mistakes. Now, why I'm so confident that I will win this game regardless is that in low elo people make countless mistakes. Almost everything this Vladimir will do will be a mistake.
So he's not breaking a sweat at all, and knows he'll easily win the game by following that guideline. We're going to simplify his quote into a direct takeaway for your own games, as this mindset is the entire point of the guide. Let's say you find yourself in a neutral lane state. You and your opponent are even on items, levels, health, etc. During neutral lane states, trades are about who executes better in the moment to decide who actually comes out ahead. With Hector being 0-2 in lane, the lane state is not neutral, he's very much behind. In this same scenario, he will lose the trades due to being down in experience. If Vladimir plays perfectly, it'll be impossible for Hector to come back, and that won't change for the rest of the game. But will this gold elo Vladimir play perfectly? Of course not. While watching the following bit, try to pinpoint his mistake. We'll give you bonus points if you identify it before Hector kills him. Okay, so Vladimir's mistake was that he simply didn't recall while he was 2 kills up. Not only that, but the wave was on Hector's side of the lane, so he could very easily go for that extended all-in that Cassiopeias love to do. While Hector's items weren't that impressive, the sapphire crystal that he had bought did give him enough mana to finish off the kill. If Vladimir had recalled after Hector's second death, the wave would bounce back towards his tower by the time he gets back to lane with an item advantage. Hector's all-in would no longer work, since there would be no space to run down the Vladimir with an extended trade, which is Cassiopeia's main win condition in this matchup. Vladimir would then be easily able to win short burst trades near the comfort of his own tower. So that was a huge mistake from the Vladimir that Hector had no control over him making. Moments later, Hector freezes again, setting up the exact same scenario, equalizing the kills quickly, and setting him up for an easy win.
So I will continue freezing this. So despite inting to this Vladimir twice, I'm already ahead of him in levels. And he's dead.
We don't want you to think that the only way to punish your opponents making mistakes is by killing them. You definitely won't always be able to just outright kill your opponent, even if they make mistakes. Most champions don't work that way. There's certainly other punishes Hector could have employed versus that Vladimir not taking his recall timing, such as having wave control over the Vladimir, allowing Hector to push him in and look for a potential roam to a side lane. Or even just setting up a freeze with his small item advantage, potentially opening the Vladimir up to be ganked. To that end, let's explore another game where Hector was playing Ryze, a champion who most definitely doesn't do enough damage to solo kill his opponents during the early game. By the way, we've released tons of live commentary games from Hector and our other challenger experts here at Skillcapped that are available to watch right now for every role. Our experts also respond to all questions asked within the first 7 days of each commentary's release. They are super fun to watch with a ton of insight into real-time challenger decision making from the elo that you actually play in, to learn how they climb out of it with ease. All the games from this guide are also live for you to check out at skillcapped.com. Okay, so, just like before, let's watch Hector run it down during lane on Ryze. Let's break down how he'll once again get himself out of this situation. As a Ryze, what do you think your immediate goal should be to try and come back during this laning phase? If you said to find a recall timing to get your Tear of the Goddess, you would be correct. A lot of mid lane champions have core items required for them to function effectively. For example, Victor's first Hex core so he can wave clear. Qiyana needs mobility boots so that she can roam. Pyke needs Tiamat so that he can actually clear waves, and Yasuo needs Berserker's Greaves so that he can run it down faster. Since Tear is so cheap, all Hector needs to do is find a base timing at 500 gold. To that end, he's only last hitting the current wave here so that it doesn't push too quickly and remains close to his tower. But once his incoming wave reinforces it, he quickly starts wave clearing it. This is a useful trick so that you can fully shove out waves while staying close to the relative safety of your own tower. You may have noticed that there is a slight flaw to this strategy. Do you know what it is? If you realize that Graves has the potential to freeze this wave, you'd be absolutely correct. It's very obvious Hector wants to base, he's just unloaded his entire mana bar into clearing that last wave. All Graves has to do is tank these 3 casters, wait for the incoming waves to crash, then freeze the wave and take a recall of his own. This would force Hector to miss a ton of farm, and come back to a terrible lane state, where he'd just be ganked again and again, since he just blew his flash moments earlier.
Now in high elo, I would be worried here. The Graves could have potentially frozen that, known what I was doing, he could freeze that, and get another huge experience lead on me, but instead he's just hard crashing it into my tower. While I will miss some minions, maybe like 2 melee creeps, maybe 3, he could have denied me way more minions if he had just frozen the wave and taken his recall timing. He could just recalled along with me, and he could have come back to a frozen wave.
It may seem a bit off to hope that the opponent makes the wrong call, but when playing from behind, there's often times where you aren't really left with any other choice. To be fair, in low elo, players do have a tendency to mindlessly auto-attack waves without thinking about the long-term consequences of their actions, so this was a fairly safe bet in gold elo. That's not to say you should be lazy with your wave control in low elo and assume that you won't be punished, but in this case, Hector had to recall no matter what. We can clearly see the effect of Graves' poor wave management. Hector is in lane with a wave pushing towards him, so the trundle that would have ganked at this timing was useless. Not only that, but despite literally throwing his life away twice, he's essentially even in levels, when that would absolutely never happen in high elo. Afterwards, he can just bait Graves to try and fight him, but obviously Hector is just baiting for his Zac. With all their CC, they easily kill him, and eventually chase down the trundle as well. Now, of course, that was too easy, so Hector decides to purposefully run it down once again.
Alright, well, we were coming back already, we were already even, so now we are behind again, so back to playing from behind.
But obviously, Hector is a challenger player, and he's gotten past Ryze's terrible early game. At this point, he can just mechanically outplay Graves, so that this kill looks very similar to what we saw in the Cassiopeia game. Next up for our final game will be Hector on Fizz versus a Silas. He kicks things off by dying twice. Let's quickly get the valuable insights behind these 2 deaths.
I'm tanking more minions than he is. I'm not going to use my potions. He's waiting for his E cooldown to kill me. Oh man, oh. Okay. 1 death down. Just 1 more to go. Is 1 death enough? Nah, I think this guy's gonna need 2. The way he's playing, he's really bad, so he's gonna need 2 kills. Oh, I tried to take a tower shot on accident, but I didn't manage to do so. Okay, perfect. Perfect. I will just go this, and then I will go dagger.
For this game, things will go a bit differently. The other 2 games, Hector took a proactive approach to punishing his opponent's mistakes. But more often than not, you can just watch your opponent's lead crumble away by doing nothing and letting them throw it themselves. This game, the Silas Hector was laning against got really fed. He kept finding kills by roaming around the map, and snowballed to a 6-1 lead after killing Hector's Rek'Sai again. But just because Silas's roams kept working doesn't necessarily mean that they were correct roams. Let's play that clip out again, and while watching, try to see if you can identify the very obvious mistake that Silas is making here. Did you catch that? Silas skipped the key fundamental to roaming. Push the wave first. Even though he killed Rek'Sai, that doesn't make it the right play. All roams are essentially a coin flip. When you roam, if your opponents disrespect you, you get a kill. If they have a brain and back off for 5 seconds, you don't get a kill. Now, when you take the prior steps to ensure that it's a good roam, this coin flip is generally beneficial to take. A good roam consists of pushing the wave, then roaming, perhaps getting a kill, and then coming back to lane. This can either be a neutral or positive outcome. In one case, you get rewarded and come out really ahead by killing someone, and in the other case, you don't get a random kill, but by having pushed the wave prior to the roam, you just go back to lane and farm. The major issue with Silas's roams was that he kept roaming without fully pushing the wave in the first place. This makes it so that his roams can only have either neutral or negative outcomes. Even if he does get a random kill, he misses the 1 or 2 waves that Hector pushes into his tower, which means that he's not coming out that far ahead of Hector, who is just farming. When you roam like this, if your roam is unsuccessful, you're just missing farm for no reason. Unfortunately for Hector, this negative outcome has yet to occur to Silas this game. We're not saying that you always have to push the wave before you roam, but if you're constantly ignoring that golden rule, well, we'll just let Hector explain what happens.
But he's definitely throwing his lead with all these roams. If you'll see, I have 77 CS to his 29. Like, this guy just keeps going for coin flip roams that have been working this game, but at some point, your luck runs out.
As we see, this time he isn't rewarded, and instead Hector's team finally plays well and even manages to kill him. Let's compare this to an actually well-executed roam.
So the difference between him and I is that before I'm going to roam, I always fix my wave, whereas he's just roaming like regardless of the wave state. So if I don't get this kill is RNG. It's reliant on Caitlyn being a complete moron. But if I don't get that kill, I can just walk back to mid lane and pick up a ton of farm because the wave is fixed.
Silas puts the nail in his own coffin with this final roam trying to invade Rek'Sai without shoving in the wave again. Hector pushes the wave, and only then does he go to help his jungler. A bunch of solo queue shenanigans happen here, but at this point, despite being handed countless kills, Silas is already behind Hector in levels, and they eventually lose this invade. After all those throws, Hector is more than strong enough to kill this fed Silas, who is down 2 levels due to his incessant roaming. Okay, that's it for this one. Remember, if you sign up to Skillcapped, you'll get full access to all of our Smurf commentaries. You can also hit Hector with the best questions you have, and get a response if you ask within 7 days of the video's release. We're releasing tons of these videos every week at the moment, so you really don't want to miss out. Thanks for watching.